first place we'll go to a young midfielder that's drawing a lot of glances in Europe, and apparently ours, from what we've been told. Hugo Larsson, Swedish international midfielder, 20 years old, Eintracht Frankfurt, looked at apparently by Arsenal and a few other European clubs. We'll come to price tag as we do normally later, Bart, but on the surface, this is an intriguing one for me because 6 goals and an assist, so 7 goal contributions. Suggestions that he plays most of his game as an 8 in the central midfield, but has played half a dozen games for Frankfurt as a 6. So he could be one of those multifunctional midfielders that we talked about. But Hugo Larsson, 20 years old, let's run the numbers and see the potential.
So I think we always kind of start with looking at can he do the minutes that are asked, right? And this time I've made sure that it's actually down by the season he's played. All right. Those who watch Water will see a little bit, but anyway. He's in and around for 2022, 1200, 2023, 1000, 23, 24, 1800 is his high. This season, he's just short of 1800, and I think I played 36. So he's probably going to top out 2000 minutes, right? So nice. He's got a load, but it's not the load that Liverpool midfielders do. Largely, I would suspect Frankfurt have played in the Europa League, for sure. So it's a little bit there, but he's got match starts 25-9, so he started a lot of games. He might be started, he might not be, depending on what the tactics are. So he has potential to do the load that we need a midfielder to do, but he's not quite there at the moment. All right. So where do we always look? Well, we always look at this bottom box first of all, which is the defensive metrics. He's a midfielder, so it's not imperative that he's doing clearances because you're not a last line, but still 42nd percentile is lower than you'd expect. Aerials, that is a problem if he's going to play the 6, not so much if he's going to play an 8, but 32nd percentile is low if he's an offensive player for us. And I will just go and give you the exact average he's at. He's at 45% for this season. So, okay, but that has improved from 32 last year. So there is a bit of an improvement there, which, it's as I said, if he's a sole 6, that'd be a problem. If he's a mixed player, then we can probably allow for a little bit of that. Blocks and interceptions. So does he do the passing lanes? Does he block those? Does he nip in front, nip the ball? He's in the 87th and 70th percentile. So that's good. That's a good part of his game. He's avoiding the tackle, which is sometimes when he's misjudged something, he's got to make a tackle, make an action. So those elements of his defensive metrics are good. 86th percentile for blocks is really good. Okay. Now, what does he do in between the boxes? So progressive passes received, 47th percentile. So that suggests to me he's receiving the ball low, not very close to goals. Remember, a progressive pass, you have to move the ball between 20 and 25 yards closer, or 20 to 25% closer to goal, right? And in the middle, the middle and attacking third. So if you're not in one of those, or you're not high, then it's very difficult to receive a progressive pass. Equally, if you're not very high, you're not going to get the ball in the attacking penalty area. So he's in 42nd percentile. Suggests to me he doesn't do a lot of that third man running stuff that our does, and even Max to a degree, but not high amounts. Take-ons and carries, that is not his game. All right. So if he was playing the 6, the grab, turn and go, the grab, dribble past the player, that kind of thing. This guy is not doing that. All right. What this guy is doing is passing the ball progressively, 60th percentile. Okay. Would be nice if that was a bit higher for someone playing deeper, but because he's got the full range of those 2/3 to hit that passing. But okay. 70th percentile for passing completion, and that's 87% on average, which is bang in there. That's a standard that we expect our Liverpool midfield to be hitting. Volume-wise is 60th percentile. So again, some of that could be because they're not the most dominant team, so they don't have a lot of passes, but that's still volume that you would hope, given the ball, he would still maintain his pass completion accuracy, right? So that's important. What's he doing in the box when he does get in there? So he's got 93rd percentile for non-penalty goals, which is pretty good considering he doesn't actually get in the box that much.
Yeah.
Shot creating actions, 2.36, which is 58th percentile. So he doesn't create a lot of goals. And shots, he's less than a shot a game. So there are some elements there where you think, okay, yes, this is pleasing. He looks the profile more of a 6/8 rather than an 8/6. That might sound weird. I'm not just mixing numbers up, but I would suggest his dominance is the 6 part rather than the 8 part. Now, you're going to ask me to compare him with some of our players, I would imagine. So if we do Ryan's in the red. Larsson is in the blue. Ryan, he's better early. Yeah. He's better at tackling dribblers at him. He also receives more progressive passes. That's because he does go on a bit of a wander now and again. Touches are about the same. Take-ons and carries. That is Ryan's game, right? Absolutely understandable. He's going to be up there. In terms of passes, though, fairly similar. I mean, that's like half of a percentile bracket, so that's okay. Shot creative actions and XG, though, Larsson does better. And non-penalty goals, he does better as well. And blocks, Larsson does better. So, but it's fair to say that's Grab is probably better at some elements. If you're comparing to Mac, who is our kind of in situ 6/8, that profile is very similar. Yeah, as in like the peaks are in the right place and the troughs are in the same place. It's just Mac's a bit more volume and further on. So that suggests to me that this player is profiled in the Mac role, not necessarily in the grab role, but there's still elements he's not as good at. So clearances is better. Sorry, he's not as good as assists. He's not as good as non-period XG compared to Mac. So a lot of the attacking metrics, Mac vastly superior to Larsson. So yeah, seems like a young player who's developing. Spent a bit of time with 6, so it's got not a lot of attacking game to him. But if we look at some of the stuff that I'll run on him, he's in and around the box area. So if we look at touches and passes, he's making 1 every other minute, which is okay. You would expect that to be a little bit higher if he's at the base of the midfield, but again. Frankfurt might not. This is a European game, so and away from home, so it might be slightly unfair to jump too much from that. Passing chain length, he's not involved in the recycling, so normally we would expect that 6 centre halves to just help tip that ball. That isn't the case in this game. He's in the low percentile, the lower passing chain. Sorry. What is pleasing, he has made some passes into the zone 14 and into the half spaces. So. That's that. When he does make that aggressive pass, he goes into the right areas. He doesn't receive them, but he makes them. Off ball. Where is he listed on here? Got him somewhere. Here we go. Stops 100% of threat coming at him. That's a good start. Doesn't create a lot, as you can see, all down the middle strips there. In this game, they didn't create anything. It's mainly the wide players that did, so we're not draw too much on that. Defensively, not a lot. Okay, so that's really low defensive actions. Why it's got none because it's not on there. And XG production, he actually scored in this game, which is quite amazing. So 0.01 XG, but then wasn't really involved in anything else to do likewise. So yeah, I think it's fair to say there are some good elements. He might have a bit, as I said, that 6 going forward. Physical though, as you asked me to look at him. If I can just find it, there he is.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
So, speed 34. He's not slow. He's quick. Anything at 32 is quick. Distance 244. So, considering he's made, what did they say? He started 27 games in the Bundesliga. What is that this season? Just to double check. So he's made 25 starts in the Bundesliga. So, and he's only clocked up 244k. That's quite low.
Yeah, less than 10.
That's not moving a lot. You know what I mean? That's sort of it's not intensive runs. Just over 1600 on any 1700. So there's something there. So he does a lot of the high intensity stuff. Maybe quite disciplined in where he plays in terms of that shield in front. So some things to like. I haven't got his height though. What was his height?
Yeah, that's right. We talked about size. Yeah,
I haven't got his height on him, which was a bit of a worry. So HD profile, one that is, I think it's unfair to compare him to Mac if you're going to call him a half and half, because Mac dominates the attacking metrics, but a very similar shape. Grab does better attacking wise as well, but defensively outshines him as well. So he's a developing player, a youngster, but has some good physical attributes. Maybe the quickness, but lower than our normal amount we'd expect a midfield to cover in terms of case. So, yeah, interesting player, interesting profile. I'm not sure what the price is like.
This is where it will be quite interesting. And looking at the Bundesliga, because they list his height at 1.87 m. So he's literally the same height as Joe Gomez, for those ideas, who's what, 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
So he's not small in that regard at all.
Small,
The thing is with Larsson, and if you look at the reviews and what we've been told, there's a lot to like, as you said, very tidy on the ball, solid passer, as he's predicted. And there is a bit of green there, as you said, especially those blocks, 86 percentile, and the passing completion, bang on what we look for with our midfielders. 20 years old, as you said, almost like, it looks like, for those who can't see it, on FB Ref, if you took Mac's profile and put it in an air fryer to dehydrate it, you get Larsson, so to speak. That's probably the way to describe it. Everything reduced in that regard. Here's the thing with this, Bart. There's clear potential there. I don't think anyone would doubt that at all. There's a lot of interest in this player. Arsenal have been linked with Hugo Larsson as well. Frankfurt, as we know, were good sellers, and they've sold recently with Mwani the summer before. Marmouche, they just got a huge wedge for. You're dealing with Croatia, who, as we know, is a good seller and difficult. The indications are, from various articles and different bits, that all that intertwined. And he signed a deal, annoyingly, if we do like him, in October 2024, which pushes the price suggested around 60 million they'd be looking for him. Is that just because of all those elements too rich for your blood as a metric, really?
Given that you've got to convert Bundesliga to Premier League as well, I think it's about 0.85, you've got to decrease that by. Yeah, that's in that kind of, they will have access to data we haven't got. We always say that, right? The in-house department, we've got far too big data. So that is in around the area you could take a calculated risk. The profile is there. He does have some of the physical elements. He's not quite at the level in terms of minutes that we would require for a Liverpool midfielder. He's 20. His height isn't that, not bad, but his aerial ability is 41%, 45, he's improving. So there are some things to like, but 60 million. Then again, in this market, I don't know, that was super. Mendy last time, wasn't it? 60 million?
Yeah, 50. I think 52 million is the release clause. I think it just seems very, very difficult to envisage Liverpool paying absolute top dollar for that midfielder who's not going to come straight in, just on the basis that, and I know the market can be skewed, but 35 million for Mac was that, 30 odd million for Gravenberch. Even Szoboszlai was the 70 million euro release clause, which translates to 60 million. It just seems really difficult to see them paying that for a kid that's not going to be a starter and an alternate, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the other thing for me is, we've said it before, if you're going to spend north of 50, 60 million, they've really got to be a first teamer. because then you improve the squad because you're not the first teamer who was in there down to the bench, right? And you get competition. It's like the same thing. We will come back to it, but you've got to buy back up to Canate. No, you buy another centre half, and then you can. Do you know what I mean? It's just there are more than one way, but one costs you a lot of money, but you get the quality you need. So yeah, I think for that price, I don't think he's going to start just yet. But he might be another one. It's like we've done Hato, right? And he's going to cost a bit of money, but he might be a young prospect that goes on to become Jimmy Staffo. So yeah.
It's tough. It's one of those people. It's struggling to see them forking out for Larsson, but we'd understand it if in a year's time they were looking back and thinking, should have done that for the money, but we'll have to see maybe what next year brings. So we'll file that under a maybe, but unlikely.